This is the story of Final Fantasy XIV, Stormblood, Patch 4.5, A Requiem for Heroes, Part 1. Now, where we left off at the end of Patch 4.4, we just found out that the Garlean Empire was founded by an Ascian, and he still lives today. Aplhinaud is worried about her brother, who's still missing in Garlemald, and several of the Scions are in a coma-like state. Let's get started. At the Rising Stones, no one can figure out what is wrong with some of the Scions.
Why did it have to be Y'shtola and Urianger and not me? Out of all of us, they are the ones who could feasibly have solved this puzzle. And Aplhinaud's still missing. God, it's all going wrong. Where do we even start?
Kryl enters, offering to help. After inspecting them for a moment, she reports back that they are in fine physical health, but it's as though their souls are missing. She suggests they visit Master Matoya to see if they can find a trace of their ether using her crystal eye. They enter Matoya's cave, and she observes the gloomy face of Aplhinaud.
Now, what exactly does this tragic situation of yours have to do with me?
Kryl explains the situation and asks to use the crystal eye.
This doesn't make sense. How is it even possible? The threads, they just ended. And no, I didn't lose track of them. I followed them as far as they went. It's as if they were cut off.
Aplhinaud is angry and says they must be dead, but Matoya points out that as long as their physical forms are intact, their souls must be okay. They just don't know where they are. Aplhinaud then gets a ring on her link pearl.
That was Lee's. Apparently, a group of Populares have defected to Alamigo, and Maxima, the envoy Aplhinaud left with, is one of them.
Kryl stays with Matoya to study this phenomenon, while Aplhinaud and the hero leave for Alamigo.
I'm sorry to drag you halfway across the realm, but when Maxima mentioned Aplhinaud, I thought you'd want to hear the news in person.
Maxima recounts everything that happened. He says they were attacked by the Emperor's personal guard, but their lives were saved by Shadowhunter, who pursues a vendetta against the Ascians. Maxima then fled the Empire together with the Populares, but Aplhinaud stayed. He says Aplhinaud is still with Shadowhunter, and they know nothing about him except that he hunts Ascians. Maxima then thanks Roban for providing sanctuary to the Populares.
I'm not inclined to turn away refugees, no matter which land they call home. And if they can tell me how things lie in Garlemald, all the better.
Maxima continues with more info. He says the Empire is using a new secret weapon to wipe out entire armies of rebels, and they now march westward preparing for an assault.
Westward? You mean they're getting ready to invade Alamigo?
Roban commands that a messenger be sent asking the Eorzean Alliance for reinforcements. He then says they should open negotiations with their leader to delay the attack as long as possible.
Ahead looms a calamity. Throw wide the gates.
Oh, thank the gods. I thought we'd lost you for a moment there. Why does this keep happening?
Aplhinaud has no answer, but for the moment they feel okay, so they decide to seek out Lord Hien to inform him of all the news. Hien is in good spirits, as he has expanded his alliances against the Garlean Empire significantly. Aplhinaud says they may need that strength soon, then updates him on everything. Hien is happy to help, but says the barrier at the burn must be in place first. Yugiri reports that the Ironworks engineers have made progress and are ready to test it, so everyone decides to head that way to witness it.
It seems the engineers have matters well in hand. Should the barrier work as we intend, Doma will be free to reinforce her allies in Alamigo without fear of weakening her own borders.
The engineers begin the test.
4,000! 5,000! Target altitude reached! The barrier is holding steady at 5,000 yards! We've done it!
With perfect timing, a small Garlean airship approaches.
By the gods, it's Aplhinaud.
Hien lowers the barrier so they can reach Aplhinaud.
Be at ease, girl. The lad is not dead, merely locked in slumber.
Yet another Scion in a coma. Shadowhunter returns Aplhinaud, then immediately he and the Warrior of Light recognize each other.
Aye. Gaius van Baelsar, the Black Wolf. That was the title I was given. One I have long since relinquished.
He says the Ascian Laha Brea deceived him and used him. After the defeat at the Praetorium, he swore vengeance on the Ascians.
The Black Wolf has shed his pelt, never to return to Garlemald or her legions. I live now only to exact revenge.
They accept his explanation, so he tells them what he's learned. He says that the Ascians still joined to the Source are far superior to those who drift among the shards, such as Nabriales. He mentions 3 of the superior Ascians.
The first was Laha Brea, who plagues us no more. There is also the white-robed Elidibus, and the elusive Emmet Selk, about whom little is known.
Alasei asks what he knows about the possibility that an Ascian now walks in Xenos' body, and he responds that it's most likely Elidibus. Then he tells them about Black Rose, the secret weapon the Empire is using against rebels. He infiltrated the production facility and destroyed all of it, and the facility itself, so it will be a while before they have any again. While they were there, they found a recent note signed by Xenos authorizing its use in war.
A dead man signing the death warrant for thousands. 'Tis bad comedy.
Shadowhunter continues. They also found Allagan cloning machines being used to make several clones of Emperor Solus. He couldn't tell if this effort came from the Ascians or from the Emperor, and it matters deeply to him as a son of Garlemald. He then departs in his ship and the heroes return to Doma. Back at the Doman Enclave, Aplhinaud is safe with Hien's healers, and the heroes make plans to assist Alamigo. Hien will work on enlisting vessels for the journey, including one for Aplhinaud, and Yugiri is to coordinate with those who can teleport and comprise the Vanguard forces. Meanwhile, at the Black Rose chemical plant,
Our supplies of Black Rose have been ruined, but the new plant is already under construction. We should have the first batch ready in time for the offensive, Your Radiance.
A ruthless and indiscriminate weapon indeed, this airborne poison. It seems you are capable of making decisions worthy of your bloodline. Well, I shall leave you to your own devices. Go forth and bloody the land with your grand and glorious war.
but Emperor Varus asks him about his carelessness and how it's causing civil unrest in Garlemald, but as an Ascian, Solus only delights in the chaos. He then thanks him for making all these cloned Solus bodies for him, and leaves. Following instructions from Lys, the heroes make their way to the Alliance encampment on the border of Alamigo.
Welcome back, you two. Greetings, Lord Hien. Glad you could join us.
The heroes update Lys about Black Rose and Aplhinaud, then Lys says Emperor Varus himself is willing to parley with the Warrior of Light, the Scions, and the Eorzean leaders.
Very well. I shall attend as the Scions' representative.
Esteemed representatives of the Eorzean Alliance, on behalf of the Garlean Empire, I thank you for inviting me here today.
The Sultana speaks first, saying that the people's desire for freedom will never cease, even if they were to lose today. She says Doma and Eorzea are in a partnership of equals, and Garlemald would be welcome too if they would accept peace. He laughs and says they can't even protect their people from the Beastmen, and they'd be better off if all of Eorzea was united under one ruler, Garlemald. The allied leaders respond with tales of oppression they've experienced under Garlean rule. Sir Aymeric speaks of the 1,000 years Ishgard wasted fighting the dragons.
Yet we have chosen to raise ourselves out of this bloody spiral, and have since made peace with our former enemy.
Arguments continue without cease, and no deal is made, but Varus agrees to a short break and to continue with negotiations afterwards. During the break, the allies discuss a few tactics, and end up deciding to give Varus the chance to explain himself. As they resume the meeting, the Alliance tell what they know of Garlemald, but they ask why he is waging this war.
Finally, you ask the right question.
He says the world needs to be restored, and there shall only be one race. He mentions the Sundering, and says the star and all of mankind were shattered into imperfections, and all of it needs to be rejoined.
Are these not the self-same desires as the Ascians?
Emperor Varus, do not trust in their words. They will lead you to your doom.
Varus laughs and tells them that the Garlean Empire was built by an Ascian. He then tells them to join him.
You want to trigger another half-dozen calamities? You can't be serious!
Everyone present stands united in defiance against Varus, saying they will never join the Ascians.
But what of the other worlds, your radiance? With every calamity, you obliterate a star and every soul that dwells on it.
The negotiations fall apart and the meeting ends. Although negotiations failed, the delay did provide enough time for the vanguard from Doma to arrive. Heian asks the Warrior of Light to join them, and of course he agrees.
When our people stride out with you in their midst, I dare say the Eorzeans will feel an ilm taller themselves. High spirits have a way of spreading.
I should be terrified. But with you at our side, I can't help feeling everything is going to be all right.
The heroes enter the Gimlet Dark and face Garlemald on the battlefield. As they fight their way to the center, they encounter and defeat the Garlean sisters, Ania and Julia Quosoranus. As soon as the fight ends, Alice and the hero are struck again.
The light will expunge all life. Throw wide the gates.
Quickly! We must get her back to the encampment.
Back at the camp, Roban is encouraged that they've won the day and says Alice is in good hands at the infirmary. Yugiri approaches after visiting her and confirms that Alice is the same as the others, in good physical health but appearing as though her soul is missing. Heian and Yugiri leave to prepare for the Domans who are traveling by sea, and the hero returns to the Rising Stones. Back at the Rising Stones, the hero tells Hori Boulder that Alice is now unconscious as well, and that her body will arrive soon. Hori says the other Scions remain comatose and no progress has been made. Meanwhile, at the Alamegan border, Xenos himself arrives. And patch 4.5 ends there. If you want to see what happens next, check out the story video for patch 4.56. See you next time.